Previously on Pumping It.
So I just finished filming that episode. Just got the scariest text. Oh my God. I'm like literally about to start crying. You guys know, obviously, all about my Miami situation. I went to men's prison, using the bathroom in Florida quite a few years ago. I haven't really been fully honest with you guys about it. I told you about how I went to jail and everything, but what I didn't tell you is that the case is literally still open. Yeah. I'm facing 15 years. I have to prove my innocence at trial. I just got a text message from my lawyer, and whenever I get a text from him, it's very scary. My heart goes to the pits of my stomach. Not only is my case still open on June 30th, I have to prove to a Florida jury that I am a woman and that I have every right to go into the women's restroom. I'm facing 15 years. It's beyond. It's like 4 a.m. I just got a text from my lawyer, and he just gave me some pretty crazy news about the case. Hi, everyone. Last time we spoke, I was just about to go to trial on June 30th, and I have a little update for you. My charges got dropped. Exactly, bitch. She fucked it. They tried to put your bitch's ass in jail for going to the bathroom in the women's restroom. But girl, if you ask me, I think it'd be more dangerous if I was in the men's restroom, if you know what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm supposed to be serious right now. So you guys, I always told myself and everyone else, if I ever get out of this 15 years prison time, if I ever get announced innocent, I am gonna jump my ass out of a plane. Yes, I'm gonna go skydiving. And I might have spoke too soon because my lawyer just called me a few weeks ago and he said, girl, you're a free woman. Which means I think I got a plane to catch.
Alright, how we feeling? We're feeling good. Is there anything you want to say? Alright, how we feeling? I'm feeling good. Thank you, God. Free women. Is there anything you want to say?
Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of Pumping It. Oh, wait, I can finally take this hideous jumpsuit off. Much better. Orange was never really my color. I'm taking a break from spray tans now that it's summer in New York City. And there's no way to celebrate summer like a new episode of your favorite podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pumping It. Sorry it's taken me a minute. I know. I haven't uploaded as consistently as you guys would have liked. I was busy fighting for my life. I was on the verge of being incarcerated until my mid-40s. Just the other night, moments after my charges got dropped, I was celebrating in Bushwick right before I was reprimanded by one of my Pump It viewers for not uploading new episodes recently. Heaven forbid I get a cocktail to celebrate the fact that I'm not going to prison for the rest of my life. I am sorry, though. I hope you guys aren't too upset that I haven't uploaded in a while. July 2025 is a lot better than July 2040. Alas, I can finally say with my entire chest, and yes, it is a big one too, welcome to another episode of Pumping It, the podcast where I go out into the world, almost get incarcerated for 15 whole years, make it out just by the last hair on my chinny chin chin, and then come running back to you to tell all of you how, bitch, I just pumped it. And it's probably the greatest pump on trans-kind in the history of civilization. It was given this bitch right here against the entire judicial branch of the United States of America. I'm not quite sure if the Florida court system is the judicial branch. Regardless, I'm alive and I'm here to tell the damn story. Because this bitch right here, the one on your screens right now, she fucking won. They say we're innocent until proven guilty. Well, baby, I am officially, according to the Florida court system, innocent, proven innocent. Because I am innocent. And I was always innocent. But girl, being innocent is not always enough these days, especially when you are a marginalized person living in our country. And when you are a marginalized person, you are guilty until you fucking pump it. And thank God I did. Because if I can pump it and you can pump it, then bitch, we can all fucking pump it. And now that I have pumped it and these charges are finally fucking dropped, I can finally be real with y'all about how I have been living a double life for the past 7 years. There was the Pumpin' It podcast and party throwing diva Miss Linux right before you, the one y'all love to hate, and then the real me, who was awaiting 15 years prison time. That is until last week. But before we get started, I just want to get some things out of the way. First thing, yes, I am a key. I've always used my sense of humor to get through some pretty difficult things in my life. That being said, if my tone or occasional joking matter blurs a few lines to you today, I just want to make something crystal clear. Everything I'm going to be telling you today about how I've been secretly living my life the past 7 years has been so difficult, I've almost taken my own life probably 50 times throughout this process. The fact that I'm even still alive to tell this story is a miracle. Not a single thing I'm telling you today is sensationalized, exaggerated. It is all what I've experienced firsthand. That said, I just got out of the smoke with the law and I am not going back there ever again. So, in order to protect myself further from the group of people still alive who are working endlessly to see me dead, all of this is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. I think we all here know the tea though, or at least we're about to. Starting now. I truthfully did not ever think I would be back in this bedroom after June 30th. None of you knew this, but I fully found someone to take over my lease at my apartment, researched the cheapest storage unit to put my remaining things in, and basically started selling all of my shit because June 30th was my trial date, set to last a few hours to a day, where I was facing 15 years in men's prison. The initial altercation, which happened back in 2018, resulted in me to be extradited from my home state of New York, and during the extradition process, I had to spend 9 full days in men's prison, filed under an incorrect name and birthday, where I was bought, sold, and raped continuously, all while being withheld food, a place to sleep, medication, and phone calls to contact anyone on the outside. I made an entire episode all about that situation and linked it below if you need the full tea on my time in Rikers Island. But long story short of what caused this mess. New Year's Eve going into 2018, a complete stranger who was on a lot of drugs attacked me for being a man in the women's bathroom at Space Nightclub in Miami. She attempted to stab me with a glass champagne flute that she broke and then tried to bludgeon me with a mop that she yanked from the bathroom attendant. The whole thing lasted less than 30 seconds. I was told by security I was free to go, and as a trans person used to being hate crimed, I thanked God I was alive and got the hell out of there. The woman who attacked me returned to the party, did more drugs, passed out in an alley, and woke up in a hospital bed. Just a week before this, her parents told her she had one more mess up allowed in Miami, and then they were cutting her off and making her move back home with them. So, out of fear of being cut off and sent back home, she lied and said it was me and not her that put her in the hospital. Her parents then pushed her to press charges because that's what good parents would do. Believe their children. The woman who attacked me was stuck repeating a lie. Her lie kept getting bigger until she would have rather seen me, an innocent person, spend the rest of eternity being bought, sold, and raped more in men's prison. My official charges were masked battery with intent for bodily harm. For the past 7 years, I have been mislabeled by just about everyone as a man who goes into women's bathrooms wearing a burglar mask with the intent to hurt women. I knew I was innocent, but in situations like this, the truth is hardly enough. I am only one person. And of course, the person facing 15 years of prison would claim to be innocent. However, the state of Florida, the elected officials, and a lot of the internet all believed I was guilty. When you see my mugshot next to charged with mass battery with intent for bodily harm, what else are you supposed to think? And the jury was all normal Floridians, and I don't mean to judge, but I can assume they aren't the most liberal girlies. they see a trans woman in a woman's bathroom and a cis woman saying the trans person attacked her, what do you think they're gonna decide? Yeah, shit was looking hella bleak. In another very likely timeline, after June 30th, I would have disappeared from you all for 15 years, and tonight would have been my 20th night of 54,750 nights that I would have been spending in my new home, a men's prison in Florida. But before trial, there's pre-trial. In the interim, I ended up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees, enduring over half a decade of exile from my own community, who wrongly took the police's side and also labeled me an assaulter. Even though they scream ACAB all day long, many notable figures in the queer community prayed for my imprisonment, also wanting nothing but for me to be bought, sold, and raped over and over again until the end of time for something I did not do. I spent years going to bed every night having the wildest panic attacks just before falling asleep because it was always looming over me that one day soon, the only bed I will know is a jail cell mattress covered in roaches. That one day soon, I won't be able to hug the people I love, experience life's precious moments with my family, and the thing I love doing most, living my own life on my own terms, will cease to exist as I wither away inside a cage. I've been living this way since 2018, almost my entire 20s. I'm 29 today. All these years, I've been fighting the fact that these charges, that trial, that the sentencing was the inevitable future for me. I couldn't make any long-term plans, travel internationally without approval, or have a single run-in with the law. If I so much as got caught jumping the subway turnstile, it would immediately be brought up at my next court date. Look, we told you he was a criminal. My bail would be revoked, and I'd be sent to the slammer. Oh yeah, wait, did I not make that clear? Since 2018, I have been walking these streets, not even free. I've fully been out on bail. At any moment, for any reason, a random decision by the courts could send me back to jail until my trial. And there was absolutely nothing I or anyone around me could do about it. I was hesitant making new friends, falling in love, because I knew eventually I'd have to say goodbye to them when I went to jail. I said yes to long-term jobs or opportunities, but in the back of my head, knew I wasn't going to be at any of them because every 100 days was a new trial date, only for it to get postponed another 180 days over and over and over again for 7 years. I had to live life like that 24/7, all while having to keep things completely quiet because anything you say can and will be used against you. So, while so many people on the internet spammed Reddit threads, the comments of literally any online posts involving me, down to the reviews on my Spotify and iTunes pages, calling me an assaulter who hit a bottle over some girl's head in Miami, that's who you were doing it to wrongly. And that's why I've never in my life been able to respond to it until today. Today, I can finally respond to all of it. All this was happening while I continue to take the high road, trying to pump my life out and uplift my community and not waste any few years I had left being in my 20s and free. In the extremely slim chance that the Florida jury decides I'm woman enough and my story of what happened in the bathroom where there were no cameras will be believed over the biological girl's lie. So yeah, that's been my life. But by the grace of God, I made it out alive at the very last inning. For the first time in 7 years, I can finally confirm there is a full, free, long life ahead of me. And girl, it's gonna take a lot of unlearning and a lot of therapy, but we can do that another day. For today's episode, I want to finally tell you all the things I wasn't allowed to say since my case was opened. The suffering I've been forced to endure behind closed doors while the the rest of the world thought I was Miss Happy-Go-Pumping-It. And then I'm going to share with you a laundry list of life lessons I learned from this entire nightmare of a situation so that you can soak up all the wisdom I received from this experience without having to go through any of the trauma, including how you can pump it if you ever find yourself in some legal trouble. Because you gotta be smart, calm, calculated, and delusional, especially if you're a marginalized person facing time up in that prison cell. We're also gonna discuss the severity of pressing charges on others and look at it from a moral standpoint. Having just an ounce of empathy for another person's situation can quite literally be the difference of life and death. Empathy is also exactly why I'm making this video right now, rather than getting revenge by pressing charges on her. I know you're watching this, Rebecca. You're welcome. Yeah, Rebecca, we'll go with that. After we discuss all of that, we're gonna talk about the phone call I received at the end of my last episode from my lawyers giving me the news that my charges had been dropped, and how the moment I got my charges dropped, I jumped out of a plane. And don't worry, girl, I got a perfectly sane reason for why I risked falling out of the air and splattering on a pavement immediately after evading death by prison moments prior. I am just so happy to be back pumping it with you crazy fucking bitches. I missed you so much, but first, a message from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by the law offices of Paul D. Petruzzi. Bitch, if you find yourself in some sort of a pickle and need federal and criminal defense, this is your go-to for legal counsel. He and his team, Beatrice and Bianca, and a few other fierce Shaylas, specialize in criminal defense, criminal investigation, post-conviction litigation, and a slew of other practice areas. The entire team was so helpful. They remained realistic while also maintaining optimism. The best part? All the judges be knowing his ass and get scared when he walk into a courtroom because they know he about to win. Also, he's a key, and his wife is so gorgeous. I love her. She's so nice. So, if they're saying you murdered someone, you better be pumping it with Petruzzi. If they mad that you're trans and went pee in your rightful bathroom, you better be pumping it with Petruzzi. And if they trying to put your ass in prison for a long, long time because of something you just know you didn't do, you better be pumping it with Petruzzi. PaulPetruzzi.com for more information. I love you, King. Thank you for my freedom. Let me tell y'all the whole damn story. If you guys have already watched the Rikers Island episode of Pumping It, the last place we left off was me getting released from a 9-day stint in Rikers Island. I came out of that with trauma, $120,000 in debt from my bail. Oh, and Ty Sunderland's mom's house was able to be seized if I decided to flee the country. My trip to El Salvador will have to be postponed until further notice. I also came out of that bitch with the entire internet seeing my mugshot and charges and deciding I was guilty AF. For the first time in history, blue-haired bearded drag queens, right-wing conservatives, and trans exclusionary radical feminists all agreed on something and joined forces to take my ass down. At the time, I was making money by promoting parties and working part-time at Sephora. After a few hundred phone calls were made from people off the internet to all of my bosses, the only way I was able to make money was through having sex with random men in hotel rooms. People found my address, made fake Grindr profiles of me saying my kink was roleplay rape, and to pull up, have their way with me, and to keep going when I pretended I don't want it. Shortly after that, multiple men then showed up to my home to do what the fake Grindr profile told them to do, and I had to move. I couldn't call the cops, though, at all. All of that madness was merely a blip on my radar because I had much bigger fish to fry. The crime committed was in the state of Florida. I lived in New York, so Florida detectives blew up my charges to then be allowed to travel to New York, arrest me in New York, where then New York holds me there for up to 30 days before sending me to Florida because due process begins in the state that the crime was committed in. This is called extradition. If the state failed to send me on a plane with an air marshal from New York to Florida within 30 days, then my charges would have been dropped. The state never just forgets to extradite you, but they almost always take just up to the 30-day mark to do so. Due to just how awful my treatment was at Rikers Island Men's Prison and how high the likelihood of me getting murdered in there was, just like so many trans people do every year, like Layleen Polanco, the girl on my shirt right now, we wanted to get me out of Rikers Island as soon as possible. I'd only been released from Rikers Island before that 30 days because my life was at risk, and we had promised the judge that I would turn myself into Miami, Florida police station within 24 hours of my release from Rikers. If I didn't manage to do so, we would lose the entire bail money, Ty Sunderland's mom would lose her home, and I am now arrested for a new charge, this time in New York, violating the rules of my bond.
It's the Wendy Williams Show.
The ankle bracelet I was forced to wear could not be taken on a plane or else it would explode. A train or a Greyhound bus took longer than 24 hours to get to Florida. That meant I had to rent a car and drive it to Florida myself. Since it takes 18 hours to drive from New York City to Miami, I had to leave like right the fuck now. So, my boyfriend and I rented a car, packed our bags, and headed on a cross-country road trip from the Big Apple to Miami Beach. By now, God knows I love a challenge. So somewhere between North and South Carolina, in the middle of the night, he sprinkled in a hailstorm that was so hard to drive in that we almost crashed or died multiple times. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we had no idea what was going to happen when we got to Miami. Based on whatever the judge decided that day, I could either turn myself in and get my charges fully dropped, or I could be held in the Florida jail without bail until my trial happened. The outcome was entirely in the hands of the judge, so that was an exciting thing to look forward to. Thank God, Lana Del Rey's 9-minute song, Venice Bitch, had just been released, so we had something equal parts peaceful and cunt to play on our travels. In the Rikers Island episode of Pumping It, I mentioned that while in jail, I'd written down every detail of my hellscape experience on a roll of toilet paper. So, another way I passed the time on the drive, when I wasn't catching up on sleep, crowdsourcing pro bono legal counsel, allowing my body and soul to recover from the countless rapings, letting my family know that I was alive, begging my bosses not to fire me, borrowing money from all my friends for legal fees, was by transcribing that roll of toilet paper onto my computer so I could get the piece published online and hopefully attract some sort of media attention and life-saving coin as a last-ditch effort to get me out of this mess, keep me out of jail, and rewrite the fucking narrative that I was a man who wears burglar masks and goes to the women's restroom to hurt other women. By the way, I was like 22 when all this was happening. 22, with like negative $5 to my name and no fucking credit. Oh, and I also think that maybe one of us had an expired license or something. I don't remember. But something made it so that we had to speed in order to shave off a few hours without getting stopped for speeding, because then we get arrested for some else. I don't know, girl. It was all a mess. By some miracle, through a hailstorm, 16 hours later, we made it to South Beach, Miami. My favorite place on earth. Suzanne Barge, one of the only bitches left in New York who believed in me, because she was there on that New Year's Eve trip down to Miami in 2018 and held me as I was crying my eyes out at the hotel pool the morning after I was attacked in the bathroom at Club Space. Suzanne Barge knew no bitch could fake that. So thank you again, Suzanne Barge, for everything you put up with as well, because yes, the internet trolls went after her too for still supporting me. They also went after Lady Fat, Frankie Sharp, Ty Sunderland, and any other person who so much as liked my photo on Instagram. So, in Miami, she pulled some strings and managed to get my boyfriend and I to stay a few nights in a hotel right next door to the police station. Once the judge saw via my ankle bracelet that we had, in fact, made our way down to Miami, she was generous enough to grant us one evening together at our hotel to eat, sleep, and refresh before promising to turn myself in the following morning. And girl, this podcast is your favorite podcast because I'm fucking real in it. So, I'ma be real. The moment I got that news, I did throw on a slutty little bikini top and some short shorts, pump it across the street to my favorite gay bar, Twist, in an ankle bracelet, and I got shit-faced. I danced my ass off to that ankle bracelet, holding my man tight as I screamed the words to every Spanish song I knew. If you've ever been to Twist in South Beach, bitch, I know you know the vibe. At Twist, They played I Like It by Cardi B, which, as you guys know, was my jail song that me and the other dolls at Rikers Island were dancing to up in my jail cell when it played on the radio, which is crazy because that was just a few days prior. So, in my head, Sharika, Orchid, and Candy were right there at Twist with me dancing. And while yes, I owed every single person in the world money, I knew that they would have wanted nothing more than me spending my last possible night of freedom after the 9 days I had just had. And if they could, they would be right up in there at Twist with me. After that wild night at Twist, me and my man went back to our hotel room, and that's when we really couldn't keep our minds busy any longer, and it truly sank in that tomorrow morning was about to go down. And this was maybe our last night we would be spending with each other ever again. All over that hotel room, in the kitchenette, the shower, on the table next to the window, on the air conditioner, the dirty ass rug, and even the dirtier ass bed, my boyfriend and I had the most intensely passionate sex imaginable, like it was the last time, because there was a high chance that it was the last time. You guys gotta remember, only 2 weeks prior, our world was entirely different. We were together at my boyfriend's Lower East Side apartment, smoking some weed on his fire escape, laughing about God knows what, as we probably had an episode of Housewives ready for us on the TV. 2 weeks prior felt like a lifetime ago. And now, here we were in Miami, pretending to sleep, holding each other as close as two people could hold each other, crying as quietly as possible, making sure that the other person didn't know the other one was crying. You guys, let's stop for a minute. Based on everything I just said, do you see now how fucking incredible it is that I held it all together? And that to this day, I haven't fucking snapped? That's how you what? Pump it. Moving on. It's now the next morning. Our alarms go off before the sun even rises. I put on my little police station outfit. Let me just say, I fucking hate dressing for places like court, police stations, depositions. Oh my God, it is the worst. Like, business casual clothes for women is just like the most matronly, pantsuit, unsexy type of clothing imaginable. And on top of it, I look like a man and I'm being charged as a man. But I'm out here trying to convince these bitches that I'm a girl, so I gotta overcompensate my femininity while also in a pantsuit. It's just too fucking much. They make you take your extensions out. My hair, especially in 2018, was bleach damaged as hell, and a sleek back bun will have any tranny looking nuts. 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, I'm walking into a police station dressed like a substitute teacher in head-to-toe Target with hair like George Washington when he take his wig off, screaming up there to the cops, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. I walked into that police station, told them I'm there to turn myself in. With that in of itself just sounds so dramatic. I'm here to turn myself in. As if I fully just murdered someone in cold blood and I came to my senses. The police immediately handcuffed me, put me in the back of a cop car, and an officer drives me to the courthouse. That's where they gotta book me all over again. I'm up in there with all the other boys. My mugshot that day was even brickier than my first mugshot because, like I said, I was looking matronly, like a substitute teacher, George Washington when he takes his wig off. I remember the food there. They were passing around these cheese sandwiches, literally just a piece of bread, cheese, piece of bread. But honestly, I be loving the jail food. I be loving the jail food. It's so fucking good. But at that point, I just want to get out of there. We timed it like perfectly where I turn myself in 7 a.m. I get booked, whatever. I have to go through all of that process. We call the bondsman in Florida. Before the judge goes home that day, she gets a phone call that Lennox paid her bail. She tells the prison they can let me free. I was out that day and I didn't have to spend another night in jail. Thank God. They literally just kept me in my substitute teacher clothes. I was in a holding cell. Next thing I know, I'm back on the street waiting for my man to pick me up in the rental car, hop on a plane, and we were back in New York City at his Lower East Side apartment, smoking a J, laughing on his fire escape, watched Housewives right after, and it was almost like nothing had happened at all, even though everything was happening. The following morning, my first published piece of writing came out on Paper Magazine, A Trans Woman's Experience in Rikers Island Men's Prison. It immediately became a pivotal moment in both my life and in the journey towards prison reform for trans individuals, and something I am so extremely proud I did. After that, a whole lot of the same thing happened for 2 full years. Every 180 days, I was told a date for trial. The judge insisted this was the final trial date. I would prepare my whole life to be turned upside down, say goodbye to my family and friends, show up to court for pre-trial. My date would then get postponed to 180 days later, and that cycle would repeat itself over and over again. Now, I had an entire section planned where I was going to talk about another major obstacle faced during this process, how I went through multiple lawyers over these 7 years. But then a voice in my head told me, Linux, the internet is probably not the best place to spill tea on a bunch of lawyers. So I'll give you a super quick rundown of what happened where I won't end up back in court. Basically, my first lawyer was pro bono. We weren't really feeling each other, so we went our separate ways. Then I got a second lawyer. We weren't really feeling each other, so we went our separate ways. At this point, I was dating a new man, an older, richer man. This older, richer man was like, babe, let me handle this. You clearly don't have the best taste in lawyers. My older, richer man is an old money type. He said if I wanted to win this, I needed to drop the younger, woke, trans rights stuff and instead go for the jugular with an established, well-connected, tough Italian lawyer who had been winning in the business for decades. Now, don't get mad at me for saying this, but Giuliani vibes. You can't fight the system, the pure evil of transphobia, with love and light. Legal battles are war, and this one in particular had the odds stacked against me. I needed to show up with a nuclear weapon of a defense team, and that's exactly what I did. In comes my saving grace, Paul motherfucking Petruzzi. Somehow, I got the coin together to pay Mr. Paul Petruzzi, blocked off a week in Miami to meet with him, set a plan, and win this case like my life was on the line. Because it was. I walked into Paul Petruzzi's office on day one. I told him the full story of what happened that evening in Space Nightclub and all the nonsense that has happened since. He really was not that gagged. This man is a huge lawyer, so he deals with even crazier shit all day, every day. I'm talking people setting their grandmas on fire, blowing up cars outside hospitals, murdering their families on TikTok Live. That's just another Tuesday for Mr. Paul Petruzzi. My new lawyer told me in criminal law, it's not enough to know the truth. You have to be able to prove the truth with zero holes. In addition, you have to make your opponent the villain and you the victim in the jury's eyes. Since my opponent was the villain and I was the victim, that shouldn't have been too big of a task. That's when he pointed to a stack of 10 large filing boxes filled to the brim with papers. There's every medical record, deposition, follow-up, and any other piece of evidence available to be used in our case. We have a copy of everything in these boxes, and the state has the exact same boxes. This is called discovery. For the next however many days, you are going to siphon through every last piece of paper, put together a case, present it to me that supports wholeheartedly the story that you just told me is the absolute truth, and her story is the absolute lie. I'll be right here on my desk ready to answer any questions. Some of y'all may be thinking, wait, Linux, did you just pay this lawyer a shit ton of money for him to make you do his job? Even if I did, him telling me to siphon through those papers was the greatest gift Paul Petruzzi could have given me. With every word I read that exposed all the things wrong with that case, it gave me that much more fuel to fight for myself. And siphon, I did. From the very first piece of paper I read, thanks to this evidence, I now knew the full tea on you, Rebecca. Now let's get into it. So, according to the detectives' interviews of people at Club Space the evening of New Year's Eve, witnesses say after Rebecca attacked me, she went back into the party for multiple hours. Her friends couldn't find her for a while. A guy walked her out of the club and she woke up in an alley to police asking her to take her to the hospital, to which she said no. Rebecca then walked away and had a short talk with her boyfriend, who, by the way, she's been dating for 7 years, but tells police she does not recall how he makes his income, so that's suspicious in its own right. I'm assuming their talk was probably to get rid of some things, and then she comes back to police and goes to the hospital with them. them. While speaking with detectives at the hospital, Rebecca remembered her parents were visiting her in Miami, specifically to see her. Rebecca just couldn't let them know that she was in the hospital after starting a fight at work, so she completely ghosts them their entire trip. Medical records show that Rebecca then leaves the hospital a few days after New Year's and goes out of her way not to speak to police. That is until April. In an interview with detectives taken that April, right off the bat, Rebecca states that her parents cannot know about what happened on New Year's Eve or that she is talking to the police currently. If Rebecca's parents find out, she'll be forced to move back home to Orlando and quit her career. This statement is when it becomes very clear that Rebecca tends to lie, either directly or by omission, often and to many different people. She goes on to admit that she's been avoiding seeing her family in person for 3 months. Rebecca tells the detective that during those 3 months, she's had no income because she was unable to work. Ever since the incident, she forgot how to read and write. She couldn't even use her phone, nonetheless work. However, Club Space pay stubs reflect that Rebecca is getting paid the entirety of those 3 months. So could just be paid leave. Either way, that is still a total lie because she just said she's making no money because she can't work. So what are these pay stubs, Rebecca? At that moment, I pick up my phone and head over to Rebecca's public Instagram. Her social media shows she's working constantly through this entire time period, literally pumping it at Club Space nonstop since New Year's Eve. Another lie Rebecca tells is that she couldn't walk her dog anymore and couldn't drive a car, which was very confusing because right there on her Instagram post, next to her pumping it at Club Space, was her in the driver's seat, her dog in the passenger seat, and a leash on the damn dog. Girl, you just can't make this shit up. But actually, Rebecca's making it all up, isn't she? But you know what? Maybe someone else is running her social media, right? Wrong. A moment later, Rebecca states her social media is hers entirely. Nobody posts on her behalf, and nothing of hers online is manipulated. At this point, even the person interviewing Rebecca was confused because he then asked, how is she posting on social media entirely on her own without any help when she can't read, write, or hold a damn phone? I mean, I do know that there's accessibility features these days, but I'm just seeing one messy lie after another. In my opinion, Rebecca's totally kind of flopping this entire deposition. And I'm pretty sure Rebecca knew this was a flop too, because right after this conversation, she disappeared a second time and evaded detectives for a full year. After many missed calls, detectives showed up to Rebecca's doorstep for follow-up interviews, to which they heard female voices inside, eyes peer through the blinds, and then the blinds closed again while the door remained locked and unanswered. After more police avoidance, detectives had no other choice but to let the case go cold. So cold that long after she attacked me on New Year's Eve, I went on and lived a whole damn life. Had a new apartment, new man, new everything, and I didn't even know the cops were even looking for my ass. Had I would have just cleared the fucking story up, told them the damn truth, and everything would have gone on as normal. The case stayed cold, that is, until Rebecca needed some money. About $45,000 to be exact. Her parents and everyone around her were over it. How do you ask your mom and dad for money if they already are pretty sure you're up to no good? Rebecca can't tell the truth because if they found out that she had fought someone at the club she works at and owes everyone around her money for God knows what, that's more than enough for her parents to force her to move back to Orlando with their family, which is the last thing Rebecca wants. Remember, Rebecca had just a little plan. She's gonna tell a lie and play the victim. She says, Mom, Dad, I'm ready to tell you why I've been avoiding you all this time and why I just need you to help me a little bit financially. Rebecca tells her mom and dad a man hurt her in the women's bathroom at Club Space on New Year's Eve. She can't read or write, and she can't use a phone, and she definitely can't work to pay any of her bills. What do her parents do when they hear that? Exactly what she was afraid they would do. They made her move back to Orlando, live with her family, quit her job, and stop talking to her boyfriend. Back in Orlando, seemingly under her parents' control, Rebecca begins to go to doctor's appointments. At these visits, it was maybe 2 or 3 max. She tells doctors she had a traumatic brain injury from, the man in the burglar mask who hurt her in the women's restroom. As I go through those medical records from these visits, I never once see a doctor saying Rebecca has any traumatic brain injuries. The only time a doctor even mentions a traumatic brain injury in their notes is when Rebecca tells them she has a traumatic brain injury. The doctor's visits end pretty abruptly after that. A second thing Rebecca does under her parents' watch is she sues Club Space for not paying her money for work and for having bad security, which did not protect her from the man in the woman's restroom. Shortly thereafter, Club Space wins the case by proving she was not only fully working there, but with witness testimonies that she in fact was the one who started the initial altercation. The last thing Rebecca does on her tour de justice is call back those detectives and restart the process of pressing charges on me. Rebecca had told a lie once that she never should have told, and it got bigger and bigger until it got so big that I was battling for my life up in Rikers Island, up in these court appearances, and facing 15 years prison time. The TLDR allegedly is this: she attacks me on New Year's Eve. She hides it from everybody. She needs money, lies to parents that I attacked her. The parents move her home. She shops around for doctors to co-sign that she has a fake brain injury. She sues Club Space and loses. Then she presses charges on me and loses. Yeah, I'm gagging too. And I just know Miss Rebecca thought her plan was giving. Unfortunately, doctors are doctors for a reason. Club Space has incredible lawyers, and so did I. But even without incredible lawyers, it really just took 2 days and 20 milligrams of Adderall to find countless holes in the discovery to support that she wasn't telling the truth. After my time splitting the hairs of these files, honestly, it wasn't even splitting hairs. I was literally just reading pieces of paper and shit was jumping out at me. I now knew every detail of this total stranger's scheme to not get yelled at by mom and dad, pay off her debt, which gave me the most traumatic 7 years of my life and almost took away the next 15 years of my life. If her plan had been successful, then I was going to get released when I was 45 years old. It wasn't just Rebecca who was flopping. The state was flopping too. Let me explain what else Linux law offices uncovered. So within Discovery, there's full transcripts of every interview taken. For each transcript, there's a corresponding summary of the most notable things said in those interviews. They do this so you don't gotta read through every damn thing every single damn time. And in one of those detective summaries we received, there were a few bullet points of information that could not be found in any of the corresponding transcripts. That full transcript is somewhere. The state clearly has it, which is how they were able to make a summary of it. For some strange reason, we were never given the full transcript. Part of a fair trial is that both parties have the same exact collection of evidence, no more and no less. The only reason a state would keep evidence from us is because they know it would help our case, or even more so, there would not be a case in the first place. This withholding of evidence is referred to as a Brady law violation. And girl, was the Brady law violated. We also discovered that the state had tampered with evidence more than once. Now, this part is going to sound very Nancy Cho. I wasn't wearing 6-inch Louboutins. I was wearing little brown kitten heels. But it's giving very that. So, back during 2018, I was in my Club Kid era where I go out in all these super tall platform Club Kid boots. It was my thing. I was known all over the internet for it. Earlier in the evening at my New Year's Eve party in South Beach, I was wearing those tall platform Club Kid boots. After my gig was done and the check was written, girl, it was time for me to have some fun. I changed out of that crazy outfit and into this t-shirt, the hottie t-shirt, the night of New Year's Eve when Rebecca attacked me, and a pair of Ugg boots. And in that outfit, when we first got to Club Space, the door guy recognized us, asked for a photo outside the club with him. We said yes, and I distinctly remember my Ugg boots being in the photo. Both the state and Rebecca claim that I was wearing tall platform boots, in which I intimidately towered over her. And I even used those platform boots on Rebecca as a deadly weapon. Next to that claim is a photo of me from earlier that evening wearing platform boots. And the photo outside of club space taken with the door guy in my new outfit, the image is cropped right in the middle of my leg where both the platform boot and my Ugg boot would have started. I sat through multiple hearings where all we talked about was whether or not I was lying about being Ugg boots or the platform club kid boots I was known to wear on the internet. I had to fly someone who was in the bathroom during the incident from New York to Miami to take the stand and testify that I was in fact wearing Ugg boots, and the state refused to believe us. But that's not all. There's more. Detectives support their claim that it was me in the bathroom closest to the altercation because an ID with my name on it was found at the scene of the crime, covered in Rebecca's blood. When my lawyers asked the state to provide proof of this bloody ID, Florida officials later admitted to not being able to because they had in fact destroyed it. Yes, girl, they apparently destroyed the physical ID covered in Rebecca's blood, yet used it as their main power for being able to come to New York and arrest me. On another note, girl, how and why would someone even destroy an ID? Like, do they shred it? Do they burn it in some sort of fiery kiln? Girl, I have no fucking clue. Regardless of how, the more important question was, why would they destroy a bloody ID? Either way, the inner workings we were finding out about this case were appalling. We now had a motive, multiple witnesses on our side, a severe history of Rebecca lying, a massive Brady Law violation by the state, and lastly, we had proof that the state both tampered with and destroyed evidence. The next step was for my lawyer, Paul Petruzzi, to pump it to that courthouse and tell the judge all of the fraudulent behavior that had occurred and why this case, from all the way back in 2018, should be closed once and for all. Just a week before the 4th of July, 2024, I received a text from my lawyer that the judge agreed to recognize the Brady Law violation, my charges were to be dropped, and the case was closed. I remember I got the news that morning. I was heading to the annual Fire Island trip I take every 4th of July, and I was crying, listening to Free Woman by Lady Gaga on repeat. I'm a free woman. I was crying my eyes out on the Long Island Railroad. I texted all my friends. I called my mom and gave her the news. I posted all over my Finsta, and I spent that week in Fire Island so fucking happy, so fucking grateful for my newfound freedom. We celebrated life and each other and the fact that I finally overcame the most impossible obstacle imaginable. I was just so truly happy. Do you think the story ends there? Because guess what? It doesn't. I go on to enjoy my summer and celebrate my newfound freedom until that September, when I was at a restaurant with my friends as we were giving another one of our friends an intervention. In the middle of the intervention, I receive a phone call from my lawyer. I step outside. That's when I'm given the most horrifying news imaginable. Rebecca's parents appealed the decision to close your case. They wrote a letter to the district attorney, who was appalled to find out that a man in a burglar mask had gone into the woman's restroom and attacked Rebecca. The DA reopened the case, assigned a new judge, and demanded that this case goes to trial, and the trial will be June 30th, 2025. Non-negotiable. At this point, I was so accustomed to getting news like this that my reaction was just numb. I was quite literally a puppet being thrown around by the government for 7 years. It felt natural for this to happen to me once again, like this was my resting state all the time. I'm just always gonna be facing fucking prison for 15 years for something I did not do. After a summer of celebration, telling my family, friends, bosses, and everyone else the case got reopened. And it was time to go through the process all over again. Everyone, including myself, was so confused and heartbroken. That's when I'm given a new plea deal. This is what they were offering. 5 years probation, no jail time. I have to pay Rebecca $10,000 in restitution so she can pay whoever else back that she owes money to. I'll be a felon, meaning I can never vote, own a home, or travel to multiple countries. I must record a video admitting to being a man who wears burglar masks and goes into bathrooms to hurt women. Rebecca will then be able to do whatever she wants with that video apology. Lastly, I will be slapped with a gag order to press and social media, so that video has to remain my side of the story for eternity. I now had a decision to make. Either I could finally put this shit to rest, take the L, pay the girl $10K, adhere to the rules of this probation for 5 years. Probation is really fucking hard. At any moment, your probation officer shows up to your house, drug tests you, makes sure nobody in your home is a convicted criminal. You have to work a certain number of hours every week and a whole lot of other rules. If you mess up once, you go to jail for the full sentence you were originally facing. Girl, even if I am a criminal, I would not be able to do probation. It's set up to fail. I'm not risking that. Probation aside, even thinking about that video apology and a gag order and then the felony, that is my entire reputation ruined. I can't go to Europe or Australia for something I didn't do, but something someone did to me? Hell no. I read that evidence. I know this entire case from front to back. I have already been through so much. You know what? I will pull up to the courthouse and I will fight for my innocence if it's the last thing I fucking do. And not only was I fighting for myself, but I was now fighting for every other marginalized person that has ever been scared or not given enough information and mistakenly took their own plea deal. The night before I had to fly down to Miami to formally reject my plea deal, I was throwing my weekly Wednesday night party, Paul's Dolls, in New York City. Like any other bitch going the fuck through it, I was running all around that club at that party, venting to everyone there about the tea. And that's when I met a doll from Miami that said she was a highly skilled brujeria, which is a form of Latin American folk magic and witchcraft that blends indigenous, African, and Spanish spiritual practices, often used for healing, protection, or spell work. In other words, she's a Latina witch. Now, Miss Brujeria, she told me she gets people out of sticky situations like this on the regular, and she said she knew exactly how to get my ass out of this mess. I was to get a pair of yellow lingerie, and it had to be yellow. Then, under the moon, I had to douse the yellow lingerie in chicken's blood while setting the intention that I would be protected against all the dark magic used by the criminal justice system, lift the hex put on me by Rebecca, and I would be a free woman. I had to then put on that chicken blood covered yellow lingerie and wear it underneath all my clothes when I enter the courtroom and reject that horrendous plea deal. Afterwards, the Bruja magic will do its thing, and she assured me that all would be okay in the future.
Stranger.
2 days later, I walked into that Miami courthouse with yellow lingerie covered in chicken blood, looked that judge in the eye as I raised my hand, told him I was innocent, and I rejected that plea deal. Rejecting the plea deal was both the easiest and hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. It was easy because I knew the truth, and I knew the deal was the furthest thing from a deal. Hard because, well, think about it. Confirmed no jail time versus 15-year minimum sentence with the cards stacked against me. That shit is fucking terrifying. What if the jury decided they didn't give a single fuck about the facts and only wanted to incarcerate a trans person for being in the woman's bathroom? The likelihood of that was extremely high. And girl, if I was sitting up in jail as my 30s and my 40s passed me, knowing I could have had a full life walking around had I just taken that probation, I would only have myself to blame. I was carrying the most massive weight on my shoulders. When my rejection to the plea deal was officially filed, I remember the judge telling me, as a final statement, I'd just like to add that we received a multitude of letters of support from your employers, family members, close friends, and pillars in the community that were deeply touching. I commend you for your courage to take this to trial, and I wish you nothing but the best, Miss Wilkinson. And girl, I started crying so hard. The judge was obviously not allowed to show any type of support towards me because clearly that would be some sort of bias and it's unprofessional. But to finally have someone in that courtroom give me even an ounce of compassion, I broke down. Because you have to remember, everyone else was calling me Mr. Logan Wilkinson. I would introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Miss Lennox Wilkinson," and they would say, "Nope, say your name correctly, Mr. Logan Wilkinson." For this judge to finally commend me and all the shit I was going through, and on top of that, call me Miss Lennox Wilkinson, girl, that pulled my heartstrings. I was bawling my eyes out. As I cried and bawled my eyes out, I remember making direct eye contact with the judge. There was this beautiful moment where we were making eye contact with each other and we weren't allowed to say the things we wanted to say, but all of the words were being said with our eyes. I wrote a letter to the judge and I wanted to share it with all of you guys here as well. To the Honorable Judge of Miami-Dade County, I am writing to extend my sincere gratitude following the resolution of my case. In what began as an experience that felt profoundly unjust and dehumanizing, your presence in the courtroom, and more importantly, your commitment to fairness, discernment, and compassion gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time throughout this process. Hope. Hope that the system could still operate without prejudice. Hope that the truth still had a place in the courtroom. And above all, hope that people like me, so often misunderstood, mislabeled, and overlooked, could be seen clearly. Your decision to recognize and refer to me as Miss Lennox Wilkinson was more than a formality. It was a reflection of your humanity and your respect for the dignity and identity of those before you. That simple but powerful act made a lasting impact on me. Thank you for listening to the facts without letting stigma cloud your judgment. Thank you for treating me with fairness and decency when at times the process made those things feel far away. Thank you for your service, not just to the law, but to justice. With deep appreciation, Miss Lennox Wilkinson. Woo! Girl, I'm not crying, you're crying! Now, let's wipe away these tears and finish this goddamn story. I promise we are almost to the end. So I turned my phone on after leaving that courthouse, rejecting my plea deal, trial officially happening in a few weeks on June 30th. I immediately call my mom. She tells me how proud she is for making the impossible decision to fight for myself when so many others are scared out of doing so. She then told me that being my mom has been the greatest lesson, honor, and overall experience of her entire life. All these bitches want me to cry today. Although I was scared and possibly making a huge mistake by gambling my life away, I will admit I did do a pretty badass thing rejecting that plea deal. Bitch, I fucking pumped it. After that, I just kept pumping it. I started the podcast pumping it. I celebrated 3 years of Paul's Dolls. I performed at Coachella. I went on a Paul's Dolls World Tour, and I pulled up to the internet and any social gathering with a smile on my face, a positive attitude, and an undying willingness to help everyone around me pump it too. But behind closed doors, I was prepping for trial. I was saying yes to things after June 30th, knowing the likelihood that I would be in prison and missing them all. I was selling all my designer on Grailed. I was funneling every dollar I earned to a bank account solely for a commissary and other trial costs. When brands would reach out to me to send me free clothes, I was picking out only court-appropriate outfits. I was comparing storage units to put all my sentimental things in or sending them to my mom's house. I secretly told all my employers the likelihood that I wouldn't be around after Pride. I found someone to take over my apartment, this very bedroom, where they would move in July 1st. That's how serious things had gotten. Yes, I had truth on my side. I had the evidence. I was pumping it with Petruzzi. And yes, I had chicken blood all over my yellow bra and panties. But I still had a responsibility as an adult to plan for both outcomes, especially when my transness had resulted in getting me the worst outcome every time so far. A few weeks ago, the last time you guys saw me here on this screen, I was filming my most recent episode of Pumping It, talking about the history of trans women congregating and going on tour. I received a phone call from my lawyers. I almost didn't even answer because I was like, ugh, do I really want more bad news right now? At the last ring, I picked up that phone. The first word I heard from my legal team in unison was, congratulations. I was so confused. And also I was like offended. I was like, girl, you know you cannot be calling me saying congratulations. You know what that means. That only insinuates one thing. Yes, girl, congratulations. They said back, your charges got dropped. Florida officially closed your case today. Was speechless. Bitch, I was speechless. The lawyer goes, I know, girl, it's a lot to take in, so take a moment to feel all the feelings and then give us a call back as soon as possible. You did it. Hang up. Girl. Phone call ends and I immediately get a text from them in our group chat. It's a PDF file of all the case-related events and the dates that happened over the span of that 7-year battle for my freedom. And at the very top, it says, case closed. Case closed. 7 years. Case closed. Oh my God. It's just crazy. It's insane. Insane, right? So, how are you feeling? You feeling good? Because, bitch, I am feeling better than ever. I've said it once. I've said it twice. I've maybe said it 1,000 times. But that's how you fucking pump it. Also, am I not the greatest storyteller ever known to man? And it's all true, allegedly. The pacing, the language, the emotion, the touch of humor combined with the tear jerking. I know it took me a long time to upload these episodes, but when I do, bitch, they fucking hit. Quality over quantity. I'm gonna definitely do a little better at quantity though, but the quality is definitely there. Girl, look at where you're sitting right now. You are so lucky you are sitting here at your computer screen, in your living room, on your phone, on the airplane. I don't give a fuck where you are, but what I do know is you're not in prison right now, so you should be very grateful. We are so lucky that we are not in prison right now. That place is the scariest place in the world. So all of you listening right now, count your blessings and be grateful for your freedom. Now, skydiving. People go skydiving for all different reasons. Maybe someone died, they want to jump out of a plane. Maybe someone's sick, they want to jump out of a plane. Maybe someone got healed from cancer, they're jumping out of a plane. They moved, they lost their job, this, that, the other. There are all types of reasons to symbolize why you're jumping out of that plane and why you're reclaiming your own life. I recommend everyone watching this to go. It is life-changing. It was life-changing when I went skydiving. My charges were dropped, my case was closed, so I did the most logical thing in the world. I went skydiving. I hurled myself out of a plane at 13,000 feet. After surviving the U.S. legal system, what's one more insane risk? Right before that jump, I flashed back to the day I almost took that plea deal. That plea deal was safe, easy, tempting, but I didn't take it because I knew I was innocent. Just like I didn't back down then, I wasn't backing down now. So I leapt. As I fell, my brain turned into a DJ booth. I was hearing so many songs when I went skydiving. The very first one, so embarrassing, We Fly High by Jim Jones. We fly high, no lie, you know this. Bowling! It was so kooky. I was like, okay, really? Like, we can't come up with anything more cunt. And then right after that, even more embarrassing, was Tim McGraw's Live Like We Are Dying. I went skydiving. I went Rocky Mountain climbing. I went. And I was so embarrassed because I was like, okay, I'm so basic white girl, like listening to fucking the skydiving song right now. But it was such a moment. I was feeling it, Mr. Krabs. It was hitting. And then finally, as the wind roared in my ears, I heard Lady Gaga, I'm a free woman. I'm a free woman, yeah, 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 yeah. The song, when I first thought my charges got dropped last July in 2024, I was a free woman jumping out of that plane. And that was the moment it hit me. I was a free woman, not just free out of the court, not just free here on earth. I was free in my soul. And then I got hit with the most vivid memory. me and my girls at Rikers belting Cardi B's I Like It in our jail cell like it was a fucking karaoke night. Diamond District in the Jack, like it like that. Belting that fucking song as Sharika gave me cornrows. That was how we survived. And here I was, falling through the sky with those same screams in my head, except this time they were screams of triumph. I thought about that drive to Miami, 18 hours on the road, ankle monitor blinking, Lana Del Rey's Venice bitch on loop, me and my man trying not to cry. That whole road trip was just one long exhale, and now here I was inhaling life for the first time in years. Then, snap, the parachute opens. There's silence, and it's just me floating. I look down and see the entire world from above. I see the same world that has Rikers Island, that Lower East Side apartment of me and my man smoking weed, Sharika and Orchid, the courthouse I was going to scared as hell, Club Space over in Miami where I was attacked in the woman's restroom. I saw all the tiny people who tried to break me and all of the people I loved who were there supporting me. That jump, that was my baptism. And now here I was, 13,000 feet in the sky, seeing all of these things from way above. My perspective was just so different. I felt so strong. I won, and I was on top of the world, and I was free. When I landed, I dropped to my knees, the tandem instructor behind me, and I was just so grateful to be back on Earth, a free woman who overcame the hardest thing in her life. That instructor, the pilot, my best friend who went skydiving with me, they were all looking at me like I was insane. And I said, I'm not insane, I'm free. Skydiving wasn't a stunt. It was a metaphor for coming out, for standing up, for fighting back. Justice was my parachute, and it deployed just in time. As I landed, I whispered to myself, I'm a free woman. Ballin'! So what is the takeaway here? Don't ever give up on your freedom or your truth. Life will push you to the edge of that open plane door. Maybe it's a courtroom, maybe it's heartbreak, maybe it's your own fear, and you'll have a choice. Sit back down or say screw it and jump. Believe in yourself, believe in your parachute, or be a little scared little bitch and stay in that plane. I know the decision I made. What decision are you gonna make? I think you're gonna believe in yourself, you're gonna be your own parachute, and you're gonna fucking jump. Because what's on the other side when you do jump? Perspective, healing, freedom, the kind you can't even imagine until you fall into it. I found out who I really am up there. I let go of 7 years of pain in 60 seconds of free fall. And if that's not the most insane and profound therapy session of all time, I don't know what is. So take the leap. Trust your parachute. You might just find you've had wings all along. Hello, everyone listening and watching. My name is Miss Lennox Wilkinson. I am alive, laughing, flying free, and until next time, fucking pump it.
What's up? Welcome. What are your names?
My name is Lennox.
Zach. Awesome. We're gonna go jump out of a plane. Tell us about it. Why are we doing it?
I was going to go to prison for 15 years, but my lawyer just called me and the charges got dropped. Now we're jumping out of a plane. It's a 1 in 1,000 chance that something goes wrong, right? Okay. Higher. Well, I have lucky girl syndrome, so we're gonna keep it going.
Well, hey.
I did not think I would be back in this bedroom after June 30th.
Hear my sound, but I am about to set this feeling.
I knew I was innocent, but the truth is hardly enough. Every 180 days, I would say goodbye to my family and friends. How incredible it is that to this day, I haven't fucking snapped. I had chicken blood all over my yellow bra and panties. And I rejected that plea deal. I didn't back down then, I wasn't backing down now. Miss Lennox Wilkinson.
I'm a free woman. I'm a free woman. I'm a free woman.
7 years. Case closed.
You're watching another episode of Pumping It. We're 1,000 million miles in the air right now. Yes, the bitches tried to put me in prison for being a trans woman, and guess what? I ain't going to jail, and y'all ain't going to jail either. We are free women up in here, and now I'm gonna go live life. Because if I can pump it, and you can pump it, then bitch, we all can pump it.
I love it. Mwah.